Okay, so today we'll be seeing how to render things. So before we go to that, yesterday we didn't cover all the settings of the extrude options. Let's see that. Okay, so one second. Let me add some divisions here. Okay, so we have some divisions here. I will select all of these faces and I will press extrude, Control plus E, and now I have this manipulator. Okay. So let's see all of these options. So the first option is thickness. If you turn on thickness, what it does is whatever area you've selected to extrude, it will just add thickness there. Okay, you can see this is not moving. It's not actually pulling it out, it's thickening the area. Then we have local translate Z. So Z is for depth. Okay, X and Y is basically 2D, and Z is the thing which gives it depth or makes it 3D. So that's why we have this translate Z. So this and this is the same thing. You can either pull it out like this or you can use this option from here. Okay. Then we have offset option. So what offset does is if you add it, like if you just increase the value, you will see we will get a new surface. Okay. Instead, like anyway, we get a surface when we pull things up, right? But instead of pulling it up, you can just offset it like this and you'll get a surface which is flat. So this allows us to create other complex shapes. All right. We also have division option. So if I increase it like this, I can add a thickness. We can add divisions in this thickened area. You can see it's not adding it to the whole mesh. It's only adding in the area which you are extruding. Right. This area is extruded, so it will add divisions there. We can have the same thing in offset. So when we offset, we get a surface here. We can add divisions if we want. Okay. Then we have this keep faces together option, which is on by default. Now, if we turn it off and if we try to offset, you will see we get separate surfaces. Each of the face gets divided separately. Right now, you can see all of these are coming together, but if you let go of it, you will see it's not actually connected. Okay, so this in this way you can extrude different surfaces. Like if you want all the faces to be separated, you can extrude it like this. Okay. All right. So let's see uh, what lighting shading is. One second. Okay. So we have to define a material. Okay. Right now, like whatever object you open up in Maya, if you go to this attribute editor, we haven't seen this properly. Yesterday, I told you guys that whenever you get that cage issue, you can correct it by going to the smooth option here. Apart from that, we haven't actually seen anything here. So always, like all of these are nodes, okay? Always the last node is the material node. So this is the default Maya shader, Lambert. This shader is not actually good for rendering properly because it doesn't have all the proper settings we need. So we have to change this. So you see this Arnold is written here. So this is what we'll be using. So Arnold is a render engine which allows us to create materials and put lights in this 3D viewport and then render it realistically. Okay. So so you're asking what is the difference? Again, Sahil, can you please ask this after the class? Okay, please ask all of these things after the class because I don't want the class to be longer. Most people watch recordings, so we don't want them to give unnecessary data, right? Okay, so yeah. So I was talking about Arnold. So as I said, these render engines, there is Arnold, there is V-Ray, there is Redshift. So and there are even more. Like there is RenderMan also, which is Pixar. If you guys have heard about Pixar, I am sure you must have heard Pixar movies. So they have their own render engine, RenderMan, which is actually freely available. No, Tritsman, like it's a material only. You can render it. It's not like clay, but yeah, any material can be clay if you adjust the properties. So it's just a normal material which is compatible with all render engines, but it doesn't give good looks that we want. It doesn't have proper control. So nobody uses this. Okay. So we use Arnold, which is again Maya's default in a way. It is third party, but Maya has acquired it. So it is now a default render engine. Okay. Yeah, I think the Render Man is actually free. They have made it free, I think. Last time I heard about it, I haven't ever used Render Man. I just heard about it and I got to know that it is free. I'm not sure. You can check it. So, yeah. All right. So, we want to like apply materials, define things like roughness, define color, and other properties. Like when there is a glass like material, glass, water, or anything like that, there is refraction which goes into it. So basically, light bends differently in a transparent material. Okay. If it's an opaque material, the light rays will hit it and it will not go through it. But anything which is either translucent or transparent allows light to get inside and it illuminates the surface inside as well. So all those things have to be defined. Don't worry, you don't have to do any physics or maths into it. You have all the options, you just have to manipulate them. Okay. So let's add a material here. Actually, I'll use a sphere for this. Let's create 3 spheres. Okay. And I will right now select all of them and put the same material. So how to apply materials? You have to select your objects, right click, go to assign new material. Okay. Click on this and all the materials you have, it will all open up, like whatever materials are there. So I have V-Ray also, which is another render engine. So that is also showing up. In yours, only Maya and Arnold will show up. So you can just click on Arnold and all the Arnold materials will show up. So we need the base material, the starting material, which is AI standard surface. Okay. So you just have to click on that. And now we have applied the Arnold shader on it. Okay. So now we want to see how it looks when we put a light. So let's see how the lights work. 1 second. Okay, so we have this panel here. You have to go over here, click on lights, and I'll just undock this. So we have lots of lights here. We will not see all of them. We'll see area light and we will see sky dome light. So let's see how area light works. I'll click on that and you will see it shows up like this. Let's make it a little bit larger. So you can see a line is coming out of it. So this line tells us the direction of light. So this is from where the light will illuminate. Let's make it more larger and I will place it a little bit at the top so that the light direction is on the sphere. Now we still don't see it functioning. We just see an object here, but we don't see any light. That's because rendering is off. So what you have to do is you can also render in viewport to check. That is not your final render, but we'll see that first. So go to renderer, go to Arnold, click on that, and you'll get a box here, and you'll see a play button. Click on that. Nothing will show up. So with Arnold, whenever you create an area light, it will be completely dark. It will not show up. So what you have to do is you have to go to exposure and add a big value. So I'll type 7 here and you will see something starts to show up. So you just add 7 or 10 just to increase the exposure and then you can set the intensity from this option. You can see everything, like for everything you have a slider. So you don't have to calculate anything. And now you can see it's showing up like this. But the other side is looking completely dark. So we need another light. We can just duplicate this one. I have the slide selected. I can press Ctrl plus D to duplicate. So if you want to duplicate anything, you select the object, press Ctrl plus D, and now you have a duplicate, and you can rotate and set one over here. Okay, so now we have lights on both the sides. Now the floor is looking completely dark, and basically everything apart, like from where the light is hitting, apart from every like other areas are like completely dark. Why? Because this works kind of like outer space. Okay, you just have a small light source and there's nothing else. It's empty, right? We don't have anything, we just have spheres here. So it will not show up properly. So if you click on this option here, this plane, you'll get a plane. And if you enlarge it, you'll get a floor basically. Okay. And we can apply the same material on this. Again, we created the mesh from here, so it has Lambert material. We don't want that. We want AI standard surface. And we've already created this AI standard surface. We don't have to recreate it. We can just apply the same material. So to apply one material again, you can select your mesh, right click, go to assign existing material. So you have this AI standard surface, apply it. And now if you render it, you can see, we can see shadows, we can see reflections. And you can see it's not very, very glossy, but it's looking nice, right? It's looking a little bit realistic. It's not completely dark. Okay. There is contact shadow wherever the sphere is touching the floor. We can see the shadow there. So if you want a good render, you need to have some sort of 3D environment. Okay. So the thing is, not always we will have a 3D environment. Let's say you created a model and you just want to render it. For that, you will not create a 3D room, right? You will not create each and every object. Of course, if you have a set of a 3D environment and if you want to use it, that is something different. But if you want to just render quickly, you don't have to create anything. There is another way of getting good renders. Let me show you. I'll turn off the rendering right now. And these two lights I will hide. Okay, those are hidden now. And if I click on render again, nothing will show up because lights are hidden. So what we'll have to do is, 1 second. Yeah, so we don't have to go to the lights options here. We have it open. So you have to click on sky dome light. Click on that. And now if I render it, you will see this is so bright. We can see contact, shadows, and reflection, but it's just completely white, right? There's nothing there. So the good thing is you can actually put an image in this sky dome, in this circle that you're seeing. Okay, if you put an image there, it will reflect and basically give you an environment without actually creating 3D models. So there is an image known as an HDRI which we can use. So I will turn off the rendering. I have the sky dome selected and you will see the options like as soon as you click on the sky dome, this shape node will open. This is where you make all the changes. So you have this color option here and you see this checker box. This checker box allows us to put textures or images. Like any image is basically known as a texture in 3D. So you can bring any texture into uh, like all of these checker boxes. Okay, so we need one where the color is written. So I will click on this and create render node option will open. So basically we want our image there. And like first we need to define which node we want. So we want a file node. You have to click on file, and as soon as you do, this file option will open up in the attribute editor. Okay, then we have this image name written here and this little folder box. Click on that, and I have this HDRI, Studio HDRI. I click on that. It's basically a 360-degree image. Okay, and now you can see we have uh, this 3D environment now, like a studio setup. Okay, now if we try to render it, you will see the light is actually too bright, so it's showing up. Dhritam, what you're saying, 360-degree environment. Yeah, it's like an environment only. Instead of creating it, you have an image that you can use. Okay. So here the light is looking too bright. We can actually rotate it and adjust the position, or we can reduce the intensity if we want. Right now this is completely white, so it's looking way too bright. So we'll adjust the colors. But yeah, we can also adjust the intensity of this light. Basically what's happening, it's a light box. We're putting an image on it. It is reflecting the image, giving out light. Okay. So we use HDRIs whenever we want to render without a 3D environment. Even sometimes when we have a 3D environment, like we have separate models of the whole room, or maybe it's an exterior shots where you have trees and everything, still we make use of an HDRI to give it more of a realistic look. Okay. All right. So let me turn off the rendering. So this is the lighting part. You can either use area lights or you can use an HDRI. Now you must be thinking from where we can find HDRIs. It's very easy. Let me show you 1 second. Okay, so you can just go for a website known as Polyhaven. Okay, click on that. The website will open up, and you see we have textures. We also have 3D models here. We have HDRIs. You can click on browse HDRIs, and you can find so many different HDRIs. They're all divided. You have outdoor HDRIs. If you want to keep your model and have outdoor reflection, you can add that. So lots of things are there. We have studio light setup. This is where I downloaded that image. You can see this image. Okay. So you can download from here. Like let's say if I want to download this one, I'll open it up, and we have uh, resolution option. 4K is good enough. You don't need more than that. So you can just download that 4K and save it, and then you can apply it the same way I did in this. Okay, like go to the color option, attach a file node, and click on this folder and find your image. And that way you can open it up. Okay. All right. So this is about lighting. Now let's see how materials are. Let me turn this on. So I will actually apply different materials. So this first one, let's name it as plastic. We'll add a different material for this ball because we applied same material on all of them. So I'll create a new one, assign new material, Arnold, AI standard surface. And this can be metal. And this one I will make as glass. So I'm just renaming it. Okay, so let's turn it on. So I'll go to the attribute editor, click on this this material, And here we have lots of options. So you see this color option here, you can also call it as diffuse. Okay, color is also known as diffuse. So in other render engines, you will see diffuse option. So it is the same as color only. You can see if I make it black now, you can see it's obviously black. We can change the color. Sorry, not going to click on the texture node. To change the color, you see this option, click on that, and a color bar will open up. So you can choose any color you want. Okay. And if you want it to be more uh, more brighter, you have this saturation option. The first one is for hue, which is for color. S is for saturation. V is for vibrance. So you can, like, if you want the color to be more intense, you can increase that. If you want it to be more gray like, you can decrease this. Okay. And from here you can either darken it or lighten it. So right now this is looking like a matte plastic. Matte means which doesn't have reflection. Like there is reflection, but it's really, really less. So how do we define that? We define it with something known as specular. Specular is also known as reflection. Okay. So right now, like there are lots of options. You have to worry about the roughness option. It is set to 0.2. If you reduce the roughness, you will see it is extremely shiny. It is completely reflecting that umbrella that we have. You can see very, very clear reflections. Now, if you don't want it to be this shiny, usually this much of shininess would be in very high quality new plastic or glass, right? Or a metal which is extremely polished. But usually plastic is slightly less rough. Now you can see it's looking more like a plastic. And if you want it to be even more rough, more matte, then you can increase this. See, this is now even more matte. Everyone has seen matte car colors, right? So yeah, this is what matte is. If you completely increase the roughness, there will be no reflection. You can see it looks very bad. No material looks like this. So it should be slightly reflective. And if you want it to be reflective, you decrease the roughness. Zero roughness means there is no roughness at all. It is completely reflecting everything. One roughness, that means it is completely rough and it's not reflecting anything. And in between, you can just control it. Okay. So this is the very basic thing. Okay. You just have to worry about this now. There are lots of other settings, but that's for later levels. We will actually cover more. Let's see. Okay, so this one is for metal. So making a metal is very easy. You have this metalness option. You just increase that and you can see it's a metal. Okay. So now we want the metal to be more reflective, right? So we reduce the roughness. If you keep it to zero, it doesn't look that real. So it should be slightly higher. And now you can see that's looking more like a platinum material, right? Or a white gold or something like that. Now you can also change the metal color. Let's say you want gold. So you can find a golden color, like yellow color, and it will look like gold. You can go for brass. So if you just change color, it will change the look of the material. I'm keeping it as silver. Let's make it a little bit more rough so that it looks more realistic. Okay. Then we have, which material is this? Glass. Okay. So glass is not opaque. Right now we covered opaque materials. These are opaque, right? Light is hitting it and reflecting it. It is not passing light through it. So now we want the light to pass through this. So what do? We go to glass, we have this transmission option. So right now weight is 0. You see this weight option, this is basically a slider to reduce the color. Like if it's in the base area, that means it will completely remove color. If it's in specular, it will completely remove reflection. And in transmission, it is set to 0. That means the object is opaque. Okay. If I increase it full, you can see light is now passing through it. Okay. And it's not um, completely reflective. So we can go over here at specular and reduce the roughness. And now you can see light is properly passing through it. You can see as soon as I increase the weight of transmission, the base is turned off. We cannot access all of these. So if you want to change the color of the glass, you have this option here. Let's say you want a pink glass, you can set it up. You can see now it is a tinted glass. Okay, it doesn't have any thickness, so it's looking slightly weird. But if we extrude it, it will look different. We will actually do that with our bottle because it is supposed to be a glass, right? So then we have this depth option. If I increase that, it will be completely transparent. If I keep it really low, right now the background is not helping it out and it's also not extruded. Actually, let's see these settings with the bottle itself. Okay. So you can see our materials. These are the most common materials that you will be making. Okay. So let's actually switch the file, open our bottle model. So here is our model. I renamed it and you can see bottle 1 is written on it. I didn't write that. Why is 1 written? Because we created a layer here and we named it as bottle. Okay. And as I said in yesterday's class that if you have the same name, like, and if you create like with the same name, if you create another name in the outliner, it will automatically add 1. Okay. So if you don't want 1 written on it, you can type model. So giving a space, typing model and press enter. You can see I just gave a space and it added underscore for me. So automatically Maya will add underscore for you. You don't have to type it. Okay. Okay. Uh, so there was lots of construction history here. I actually deleted that. So how do you delete it? Right now we still have, one second, let me show you. I will just construct some things randomly just to show. Okay, so now you can see I extruded it twice. So we have this history. So whenever you're working in a studio, it's important that before you give your model to the next department, you have to make sure to clean it up properly. Okay. There shouldn't be any construction history. So how do you delete that? You can either go here, edit, delete by type, click on history, it will be deleted. Or we have the history delete option in this panel. You see this middle one, this is for delete by type history. Click on that and now you can see that's not there anymore. So in our bottle also the same thing happened. Everything is deleted. You see this input and bottle name is written here. That's because this bottle is inside a layer. If we delete that layer, this will also go away. If we take out this bottle from the layer, okay? But the construction history is gone because I deleted it. Now the second thing which is important is you see all of these values because we started with a cylinder, we scaled it, we moved it a little bit in translate X and Z. So we have all of these values, right? Now, if I go over here and type 0 on it and type 1 over here, you will see the actual scale will change and actual placement will also change. It will make it go back to the origin. Now, let's say you don't want that. You created your model and you positioned it somewhere. So you want to preserve that position, right? You don't want it to change. So what we have to do is we have to tell Maya that this position that we have, the bottle which is positioned right now, should become its default position. So for this, what we have to do is we have to freeze the transformation. beside this history option, we have freeze transformation. I have the object selected. I will click on this and you will see everything is now 0. The bottle has not changed. You can see it's exactly there. The scale is same, but if I set it as like if I freeze it, everything is set as 0. That means if accidentally someone moves the bottle somewhere, they can type 0 and it will come to the place that you decided as the correct place and not the origin. Let me show this again in a second example. Let's say I am modeling here and I'm keeping the model here for some reason, okay? And I don't want the model to move from this place. The issue here is if you don't freeze the transformations, what will happen? Someone accidentally moved it and they forgot to press undo and they did other things in the file, and now they can no way bring the cylinder back to this position. They will type 0 and the cylinder will go in the center. It will not go in this position, right? So you want to avoid that, and the easiest way is you just freeze the transformation. So this new position becomes the default position of your object. So if someone accidentally moves it, they can just go here, type 0, and the object will come over where you actually placed it. Okay. So this is something that every modeler should know: deleting the construction history, freezing the transformation, and naming everything properly. Because when you're working in a studio, you have to think about other departments. If you give a file which is lousy, which has weird names, lots of construction history, transformation is not frozen, then it just delays the work. So it's important to know this and apply this, like make this a habit to apply this thing in whatever you're modeling. Okay. All right. So that is done. I'll hide the grid. And now we want to create a material, right? Because we want to render it. So I will right click on assign new material, click on Arnold and apply AI standard surface. And let's name it as glass. And we can choose the color. So I will try to keep the color similar to our actual reference. Okay, something like this. So this is our color now. Let's, like before we see rendering, let's create a space here. So we don't want to just render it randomly. We want to create a backdrop. Okay, so to do that, you create a plane, enlarge it, put it at the base. We might have to move it again, but yeah, keeping it like this right now. Now this is flat, right? So if we render it, only this will show up and the background will be black. So we don't want that. So what we'll do is we'll go to edge, select this edge completely, press B. Okay, if you press B, you turn on soft selection. You see this colorful gradient. So this yellow is the part which is affecting it more. The most it is affecting, the pink is less affected, and the black is the least affected. So we can adjust the soft selection gradient. You have to press B, middle mouse button, and drag your mouse left and right. If you take it to left, you can see the area of the soft selection is reduced and it will only move this. We want to move more area, so I'm going to increase the gradient and pull this up and rotate it. Okay, so I have rotated it. I can press 3 and it is nice and smooth. Now we can make it larger and wider so that when we render it, it will like look proper. Okay, I think I'm going to increase the height of this a bit. Okay, like this. So it will look like this. Also, I'm going to duplicate the bottle. You can look for product photography images and take reference from there. I want to rotate this 90 degrees. If I manually rotate it, I'm not sure if it will be 90 degrees, right? So I want to rotate it. I want it to be on the ground. So You can see I was using X axis for this. You can also do it in Z. So let's do it in the Z axis. We'll go to channel box and we have rotate Z here. We can just type 90 degree and you can see it is now completely rotated. Okay. You can see the surface is sloping here. So I will shift it where the surface is flat. So this is a good angle. Okay. This is my camera angle. Now we have to create a camera if you don't want to miss out this angle again. So how do we create a camera? We go to view. We will click on create camera from view. You can see PRSP1 is written. So PERSP1, that means perspective camera just got duplicated. Okay. So let's rename it as our main camera. And there is a thing known as resolution gate. If you turn it on, it will show you what actually will be rendered. So this space left around will not be rendered. Okay. Only the thing which is showing up inside of this will be rendered. If you're doing viewport rendering, everything will be visible, but in the final render, only this area will be rendered. Okay, so I have reset my camera and now I want to lock the camera because if I'm rotating it, you can see I can easily miss my camera. I don't want that. So you see this option here, little lock on the camera, click on that, and now your camera is locked. Now if you try to rotate or do anything, nothing will happen. So your camera is now completely locked. You can open two views and if you go to panel option, go to perspective, you can see this is the camera we created. We renamed it as main. You can click on that and in this viewport, we can turn on perspective. Okay, so it's like this. X-ray is on. Let me turn it off. And now it's looking the same. All right. And yeah. So now, like we don't have any lights in the scene right now, and our material is also not correct, but we want to start setting things up. 1 second. We click on all. I'll just hide image plane. Okay. All right. So we want to bring light. So instead of bringing area lights, we can just use our HDRI. Okay. I will show you one with HDRI and then I will show you one with area lights. So today we'll just do HDRI. Tomorrow I'll quickly show you with area lights also. Well, you just have to take a reference and arrange the lights, but the results will not be as good as HDRI. The reason is with HDRI we get an environment. Okay, so that's why it's important to do it with that. By the way, from tomorrow we'll be starting sorry, tomorrow is Sunday. From Monday we'll be starting the sculpting classes. Okay, so I'll go to Arnold, I'll go to lights and I'll click on Sky Dome. So we have the Sky Dome now. We'll go to attribute editor. We have this color option. Click on the checker box. This option opens up. You have to find the file node. Click on that. This opens up. You see this little folder. Click on that and just find wherever you have the HDRI and open it up. Okay. So now if I turn on the rendering in this viewport, you will see it's not looking good right now because our shader is not good. So we'll be setting that up. Apart from that, our background is like just white, right? It doesn't have really good details. I'll just slightly move it up. Like it doesn't have any texture or anything. So we want some sort of texture in this. So let me turn this off. I will actually give this file to you all to render, okay? Because maybe I'll have to unwrap it. Let's see. So I will create a material here, assign new material, Arnold AI standard surface. So I have created a surface here. So this is our, like we can name it as background underscore material. So we've named it. Now it's time to put textures. So as I said, all the checker boxes like wherever we have checker boxes, we can put uh, images in that, which are also known as textures. So I have a set of textures. Just see how I'm applying it, and you can also do the same. I will provide it to you all. So first of all, we need one on the color. So I will go to this checker box, click on the file node, click on this folder node, and type our folder location. So you see this first one, click on that. You see COL, this is for color. So this is our texture. It's a tile or a marble type of material. I'll open it and you can see it's visible here. It's not visible in this viewport. Why? You see this option here, right beside wireframe on shaded, we have this option. It's written textured. If you turn it on, only then textures will be visible. Otherwise, they will be off in viewport. So over here, I had already turned on texture. That's why it's visible. Okay. So we have this. Now it's time to set the roughness. So if you randomly, like if you try to work with what you have right now, you can change the roughness manually. You can see the reflection on the ground. But I already have a texture which is suitable for this main image. So basically roughness map is black and white. Okay. So it defines where you will have higher reflection and where you will have lesser reflection. Okay. Where the material will be matte, where the material will be reflective. So it's a black and white map. Of course, all of these things are covered in the texturing part. So yeah, I'm just giving you a very small brief explanation. Okay, so yeah, we'll go to roughness, click on this checker box, click on the file node, click on the folder node, find this out, and we have this roughness option. You can see this is black and white. This is slightly gray because uh, the roughness amount is really less. It's not very reflective. Okay, that's why it's gray. If it was more white, that means it would be higher in reflection. It would result in a texture which would be higher in reflection, and black areas would be lesser in reflection. So yeah, I will turn it on. So of course, we only see that in the render, and you can see it's very, very less reflective. Okay, so all the marbles and all of these materials have some geometrical details also. It's not a flat surface, right? It's an uneven surface. So for that, we have something known as a normal map. You can apply that also. I will share this these textures so you can just see and apply it the same way I'm doing it. Okay. So you have to go to this geometry option. You see this bump mapping. Click on this little box. Open the file node and it opens up like this. Don't click anything here. You see this file node. This is where the actual file node is. Click on that. And this is the map you will be applying. A normal map. You see, it looks a little bit weird, but yeah, you just have to click on that and it will open up. And this is how it is. Now we have to set everything, like the direction of light is not good. So let's take our sky dome and let's start rotating it. You can see when I'm rotating it, the direction of light is changing. Okay, wait, let me stop the rendering because it's making it slightly slower. Okay, now I will turn on the render. And now you can see we're getting light from the right direction and from the left direction also. Shadows, you can see shadow direction has also changed. We're also getting it from the top. Okay, so that is working. Now, if you want, you can slightly decrease the intensity. Not too much because then it will be completely dark, but slightly you can decrease the intensity. So it's looking less bright. Now for our material, let's turn on rendering. You can see it's looking like a plastic material. We haven't set anything. We haven't turned on transmission. I already showed how transmission works. So we just have to turn it on. And now it is completely reflecting the light through it. You can also render it like this if you want. First of all, the roughness is too high. It should be really low because it's a glass. So keeping it quite low. And now if you want to add color into this, you have this color option in the transmission. So this is the shader. This is the color that we created in the diffuse. So it's showing up here also. You can see it's too dark. So we can actually, you don't have to change the color. You can go to this depth option. So if you keep it completely high, the light will completely pass through it. Right now you can see it is slightly opaque. Okay, not completely opaque because light is still passing through it. There is still some transmission here. So if we increase the depth, it's a very sensitive setting. So I'll just type a value. 1 second, let's go for 0.5. So you can see light is passing through it. So our reference had like very less, like it was quite less translucent. So we can keep it like this. You can put any color you want. I'm just keeping it the same as the reference. Okay. And we have the scatter option here. If you turn it on, you will see the light is a little bit more lighter throughout. You can see. If I increase that, you can see it slightly gets opaque. When you increase it completely, then you see how it actually is working. It's still translucent, but it is making the whole thing a little bit opaque. So we can slightly increase it. So it looks closer to our reference that we used initially. Okay. And roughness, I'm going to increase slightly. And I think we can change the light angle again, but let's do that later. Okay, so there is something known as 1 second. Yeah, this option, anisotropy. So you must have seen aluminium material. It has lots of very fine lines in the material. So the light reflects in a weird pattern. If you compare it with a steel material, you will see the reflection angle changes a little bit because with aluminium you have it slightly polished, slightly brushed. So that's why the light reflects a little bit differently. So whatever is around it doesn't show exactly as you would see in a steel material. It's not a perfect reflection. So if you want that kind of an effect, you can add that through this option. Right now it is set to 0. If I increase it, you will see slightly uh, the reflection, this highlight that we're getting is changing. If it is set to 0, 1 second, let's change the light angle actually. Let's open two views. And here I will set the camera, and here we'll set it to perspective so we can control it. Okay, so I will select the sky dome, turn on the rendering again, and rotate it. Okay, so let's keep it like this so that we can see more highlights. Okay, stop the rendering and zoom in here and click on the bottle so that we can access the material, and we can increase the anisotropy. We can slightly increase the roughness so you'll see the change more. See, if I keep it to 0, it is not having any obstruction in the reflection in the highlight. But if I increase it, you can see it's looking a little bit stretched. Okay, so you can add that, and you can also add some rotation. So that will also further disrupt this area. And you can see it's looking more similar to our reference. The highlights on the reference were properly following the body highlights of the bottle. So you can see we can rotate it more. Whenever you add a value, wait for the picture to clear up so that you can see what you're actually doing. Okay. So this is something that we can use. I'm going to increase the depth a little bit so it is more see-through. Also, this texture that we have applied is actually too large. Okay, so there is something known as tiling, which we can repeat. So tiling basically it's a square texture and it creates a copy of the texture. So in that way, the texture size gets smaller. So we can do that. Let's go to this base color option, come over here. We know the file node. This is the node we need. Whenever you attach a file node and you insert an image over here, you get this node together. So from here, we can control the tiling. So you have to go to this option, repeat UVs. This is basically for tiling only. So the same number has to be kept on both if you want the texture to not stretch. So let's go for 3 by 3. And now you can see the details are smaller. You can also add some rotation here to make it look different. And you can also offset it. So it will slightly shift a little. Okay, so just add a repetition. You can also go for 2 by 2. So we have done that for the color. Now we have to do it for all the other textures we added. So we added a roughness and a normal texture, bump texture. So we'll go to the roughness option, click on this. We obviously have the file node, but we have to go to place 2D texture node, and from here type the same value. Go back and go to the bump mapping, click on this, and again turn this to 3, and now you uh, get a better look. Okay, so this is how basically rendering is done. Till now we've been seeing viewport render. Now when you want to do a final render, you have to go over here at the top. You see this fourth option. It says render settings. Click on that and it will open up. So there are some file settings that you have to do. Let me show you. So you have this image format. You can set it to JPEG. That will be visible in everyone's computer. EXR is a format which will not be properly visible. So just set it to JPEG, okay? And you can come to the renderable cameras and delete this perspective one. The main one is what we want to use. So just set it as that. Then we come to the image size, the resolution. It is set to 960 by 540. So click on that list and you can click on HD 1080. So 1920 by 1080, the resolution, the HD resolution. So that's what we've set. Now you can go to Arnold Renderer and you see more options here. So these options are here to remove noise from the render. Right now, if I try to render it with the default settings, to render it with default settings, you can click on this second option, click on that, and just wait. It will take some time to start. Arnold is like really slow. Usually that's why I prefer using V-Ray. So you can see it's rendering it. Slowly, all the boxes are being covered. So all the images are made up of pixels. So all these boxes are basically pixels that are covering it up. You can just think of it like that. Okay, I'll press escape to stop it. You can press escape to stop a render. Okay. Now, whenever you're making changes here, you want to see them live. So for this, what you can do is you can click on IPR, click on IPR render, and we have the main camera that we want to render. So click on that. Let it render. So this is live render, okay? Just like the viewport render. One second, let me pause it. Let's make it smaller. It's way too large. Targa, is it there in the list? I haven't rendered Targa. No, it's not there in the list. Why do you want Targa? In Studios, EXR is used for render. EXR is the best raw file format. So basically, see, all these image formats differ in like about the details, basically, like how much color data you have. So EXR is a raw file format which has the most color data, and it doesn't have any beautification. So you can properly control it and do color correction on it. Okay. So yeah, use EXR always. That's what's used in studios. Right now we're doing JPEG so that it's easier for everyone. Okay. So yes, so one second. By the way, we can also remove the maps. Now this map is not giving us a really good texture, it's giving a weird kind of an effect. So we can remove the map. It's not a good normal map. It didn't have much details. It has weird types of details. So we don't have to use this. So I haven't shown you how to remove a texture yet. Let's say I don't want bump mapping. How do I remove it? I can right click here and I can click on break connection. If you click on that, the texture is now gone. And now if you restart the PBR, sorry, IPR, you can see that weird detail we were getting is gone. Okay. Yes, Ritiman, that's what's done. Of course, for still renders we use Photoshop, but for the full uh, animation, full video that we take out, image sequence that we take out, that is done in uh, Premiere, After Effects, Nuke. In studios, they use Nuke or like for compositing. Okay, it's a different software. Okay. All right. So, yeah, let's start the render. So from here, you can judge how your render is looking. Okay. You can see slowly it is clearing up. All the noise is going away slowly, slowly. Okay. And for your final render, you just have to click on this option, this first one, and you'll get the final render. And for some reason, if you don't like what you're getting, you can press escape to stop it. Let's wait for it to clear up a little bit. Then we'll talk about these settings here. Let's just wait. So you can see we're not getting any noise. It's a clear render, all the details. If we were getting noise here, then we would have to take care of these settings, like increase the values. So let's just talk about that. So this first one we have for camera, it is set to 3 by default and it gives good results. Okay. If you increase it, set it to 4, you will get a more clearer image with less noise. So this camera affects everything which is in the scene, whether it's reflection, whether it's a color. Color means this diffuse. Okay. Specular is for reflection. Transmission is for this translucency that we have. Triple S for subsurface scattering and so on. Okay. Subsurface scattering is something else. Like we'll talk about that some other day. So yeah, so if you're getting, let's say if we were getting some noise in the reflection, we could come over here in specular and increase the samples of that, sample rate of that. If it is set to 2, we can set it to 3 or 4 and we'll get clearer reflections. If we were getting noise in the colors only, the color area, the diffuse area, we could specifically increase that. And if we were getting noise in the translucent area, you can see this area, it's very translucent, this part. If we were getting noise there, we could have increased transmission sample rate. Okay, so like this we can increase or decrease the amount here to get clearer images. Okay, so you can see this is a fairly clear image. And how do you save it? You can go to File, click on Save Image, and just name it. And you have to choose a file format. So click on JPEG and save it. So now it got saved in the desktop. Okay, so this is just one frame. So if you want a full video, there needs to be some animation, camera animation and all. So that would result in multiple renders, because a video at the end of the day is a compilation of images. Okay, so uh, you have to wait for a long time to render it. Usually, like if you want a full video, you can set it to render at night and wait for it till night, it will get completed. If you're using normal settings, if you increase these settings here, they will increase your render time. Okay, if we were getting some noise in this, we would just increase the values here, and we would get clearer images, but that would result in higher render time. Okay, so yeah, that sums up the rendering. So you all can render like this. You can also make use of area lights instead of the sky dome light. I will provide the HDRI and I will also provide the texture. So if you guys want, you can like render it like this. Okay. Akash, actually, I don't work in the compositing and rendering department. It's the job of those people to see the passes. So it's an alpha is a pass. Okay. So the rendering people, the ones who render it, the lighting artists specifically, figure out those things. But normally for passes, you can go to AOVs and from here you can find out uh, all the passes. Okay. So it might be here somewhere, alpha. I am not sure. But yeah, basically, if you want a transparent background, you can get it without setting anything. Like if I delete this plane, okay, and if I start a render right now, the background is visible, right? If we don't want the background, we want a transparency, we want transparency in the render, we can select the sky dome, go to the sky dome options. We have this visibility option here. So keep the camera to 0. And now if you render, 1 second, you will get transparent background. Okay, and if you do a final render, like just set this as PNG. So PNG will keep your transparency, or EXR. EXR and TIFF also, they all keep transparent background. JPEG will not do that. JPEG will add black color there. So for some reason, if you want transparent background, you can just set it as PNG. I was thinking you were asking for black and white thing, but if you want transparent background, just set it as PNG or EXR. Just choose PNG, that will give you best results. Okay, and then you can render it and the background will be transparent. Then you can take it to Photoshop and add any other background. Okay, clear? Okay, all right. Okay, guys. So I know this, like there were too many things in today's class. So they do require some time to understand. I just did a very brief explanation for each and everything. So if you want to render and if you've understood, you can of course try it on your own or you can follow the recording to render. Okay. And of course, rest of the things are covered in the course. All right. So yeah, so we'll start the sculpting classes from Monday. Tomorrow is Sunday, so it's a holiday. So anyone who hasn't completed the model yet, please complete it and try to render it. And you can, like once you save the file from the rendering menu, we had the save option that I showed. Once you save it somewhere, you will have the image there and you can send it to me. Okay. Any questions? Yes, Sahil, what did you ask? What is the difference between lighting, shading, and look dev? See, lighting and shading is basically like you have the material and you're putting light and you're creating materials. That's all. But with look dev, you're also responsible for creating the environment. If an environment is required, you are responsible for that also. If like usually look dev artists are also responsible for doing grooming of the characters. So yeah, all of those things come under look dev. Look dev is just not simply lighting and shading. Look dev artists are also responsible for compositing. They should know compositing as well. Okay, so if you're good at lighting and shading, knowing some grooming and know how to create an environment with scan models or things like that. You don't have to model it. Like scan models are available, you can put it there through mega scans. If you're asking this question, you must be knowing about mega scans. So yeah, so you can populate the environment and create a good look and feel of the whole scene. That's why it is said as look dev. If it's a character, then let's say whenever a 3D character is created, there has to be a personality to the character, a history to the character. So when the director lets the team knows what the character is about, the look dev artist is responsible to show all of that in the model of the character. Let's say if the character is a fighter, then that character needs to have a fierce kind of a look, should have some cuts, should be a little bit dusty. So all of those things are look dev artist's job. Okay. Yes, of course. But Unreal is not enough. You should know, of course, Maya as well. So both look dev artists should know both Maya and Unreal. Blender is also a plus one, but mainly you should know Maya and Unreal also. Technical artist? What technical artist? I don't know what technical artist means. Are you talking about the people who solve issues in studios? Because we do have some people in studios who will solve software issues and things like that. So you can maybe call them as technical artist. That's all. Nothing else. Okay. All right, guys. Layout artist is responsible to create. Wait, let me stop the recording. You guys are asking off-topic questions. Anyway, all of these, the whole class is clear to everyone, right? I will answer Hardik, but first I want to ask if everything is clear or if anybody needs any other explanation what we covered today. If you're having some confusions, don't worry. Once you watch the recording, that will be clear. Let me know if there is any doubt. Okay. All right. So I will just stop the recording here.